Hi, everybody. It's Georgia Rose. I'm in the soul space. Yay! And I'm so happy because I have more room this week because Bobby turned my desk around the way I like it. And of course, I tried to come in and sit down and pull it towards me. And Bobby was like, don't touch anything. So I have to sit here like this and not touch anything. He said, sit, don't touch. So, anyway, everybody, welcome to the soul space. I am Georgia Rose. And this is Zenkuda. We are the Zenkuda community. We're really strong about our Zen. I'm sorry, I'm watching people walk around the studio instead of doing my show. So I am back in the studio. Last week I was in my home studio broadcasting because we had Veterans Day holiday here in the United States. And we all wanted a day off from the studio. We want to give Bobby a day off. So we all taped our shows. So now I'm back live and I'm here for your calls and comments, which you can do anytime during this beautiful broadcast. So definitely share the show if you want to do that. That'd be great. I'm going to share it a couple of times so that people find me and find us and find our beautiful community. Um, hmm. Anyways. Sorry for the dead air, guys. Just sharing stuff. Okay. So share the show if you'd like. So tonight, we're going to talk about tomorrow's the big day, Tuesday, December 19th. We have Pluto going into Aquarius, November 19th, 2024. Ah! It's going to be in Aquarius for over 20 years. I hope I live long enough to see it go into the next sign. But for now, we've got 20 years of Aquarius. So we're going to talk about that on the show tonight. And then hopefully I'll have enough time left to do cards for you guys. I know you love cards. And what I want to do today, put my keys away, what I want to do today is do cards for what your reading would be for the Aquarian years that we have with Pluto in Aquarius, beginning 2024 until 2044. So we're going to talk about that. So I got a lot of stuff to talk about tonight. So came in, was a little bit discombobulated. I don't know why. I started my day out really good today. As a matter of fact, I had some real estate stuff that I was doing. And my first appointment today, I was thinking so loudly in my head. My thoughts were so loud as to what I wanted to talk about tonight on the show that I got all the way to my appointment before I even realized that my car radio wasn't on. I had been driving in silence and I didn't even realize it because my mind was so loud. So that's how excited I am about Pluto going into Aquarius. Not just because I think it's going to be a lot of change and innovation, but because it's going to be exciting to see exactly what happens. Now, it's not all going to be kumbaya, wonderful things. You know that all signs and all archetypes in the zodiac have negative and positive polarity. So this could go either way. So I'm just going to check out my comments on here and see who we've got on and what's going on tonight. Where are my comments? Oops, that's not my show. Okay, this is my show. So let me see if anybody is commenting. Say hi if you're on, and then I'll know you're there. So first I'm going to talk about Aquarius energy and what Aquarius is. No, you know what? First I'm going to talk about Pluto energy. So let's talk about Pluto first and give you a rundown about exactly what Pluto is, because Pluto going into Aquarius is a big deal for a lot of reasons. First of all, every time Pluto changes signs, something happens. Pluto changed signs 1983. It went into Libra. 1995, right? 73. I'm sorry. 72 to 83, it was in Libra. 83, it went into Scorpio. 95, it went into Sagittarius. And then in 2008, it went into Capricorn. So what I've been doing recently through the inspiration of my friend Dee, shout out to Dee out in South Africa if she's watching, my beautiful friend. What she inspired me to do was take my chart and actually chart Pluto's progress since I was born. And it was really interesting to do that. And I'm actually going to start putting that together for readings for people. So if anybody wants a Pluto reading to see exactly how Pluto has affected you in your lifetime, in your chart, please reach out, because Pluto is the driver of all zodiac charts. In the type of evolutionary astrology that I do, Pluto is the soul. So wherever Pluto is in your chart, it's activating something within the soul. It's activating a very deep, personal, and transforming energy for you. So getting a reading to see like what Pluto has done throughout your lifetime and where Pluto is for you now is really, really an interesting thing to do. It'll give you an actual timeline of everything in your life. So I sat down with my own personal birth chart and I started to chart where Pluto has been, especially at certain times in my life when real, activity happened or something that was really important happened. And one of the things that's very prominent in my chart is experiences of abandonment and loss. And, there's also experiences of joy and triumph as well. But in my experiences of abandonment and loss, when I tracked Pluto in my chart, every time Pluto changed signs, there was a very transforming something or other that happened. In 1982, there were losses in my family and in my personal life that created big transformational change in my life and my approach to certain things. In 1995, my Aunt Loretta died, who was like a mom to me. She lived with us growing up. And as soon as that egress of Pluto from Libra into Scorpio happened, Auntie died. And when Auntie died, it was the actual caveat that started my real estate career because I was in training to become a realtor here in the States, and I wanted to do something and finish something in my life. I was young at the time and I was like, I want to finish something that I start because I always, am young and I haven't done that. And I've had a lot of people around me who've had dreams and hopes and aspirations, one of them being my aunt, and she never got to finish the things that she really wanted to do in her life. And so I took that as a sign that, time in life is very precious. And I learned a lot about life through her death. And so I dedicated my real estate career to her. And for all the little girls who grow up and have big dreams that they never get to fulfill. And so, I was really lucky because I grew up at a different time than Auntie did. And when Aunt Loretta passed away in 1995, things were a lot different than they are now. And so we have a lot more equality and a lot more freedom in our lives. So that was how Pluto coming into Scorpio started to change me. And that started a whole time period up until 2000 and up until 1995. Then from 1995 to 2008, Pluto was in Sagittarius. And so, when it was in Sagittarius, that's when Auntie died. And so without the chart in front of me, it's hard for me to remember sometimes. But anyway, every time Pluto goes into a different sign in the zodiac, because Pluto is a very slow moving planet. So when it changes signs, it's got a lot to say. It's got a lot to tell us about. It's been in a sign for a long time, and it's bringing all the wisdom from that sign forward into the next. So when Pluto went into Capricorn in 2008, my dad died. 6 months later, my mom died. So I'm not saying someone's going to die in your Pluto transit. I'm just saying that that's how Pluto has always been activated in my chart. I have a very heavy Plutonian chart. I have a lot of Scorpio energy in my chart. My North Node is in the 8th house. I have 5 planets in Scorpio. So for most of my life, Pluto has been in a very prominent place in my chart. And Pluto is something has to die to transform. Pluto is transformation in its highest form, but also in its lowest form. So Pluto reveals things. It brings up the things that are deep within our vault. And because Pluto is a planet that does that, and it does it through very deep transformation for us, it happens slowly because the things that transform us, we can't always bite and chew and digest, right? So when Pluto transits happen, it's a slow progression and change of our approach to things, depending on what house of your chart it's in. So look to see in your charts where Aquarian energy is, because that is where, for the next 20 years, you can expect some really big changes. Now, for some of us, that's not going to be a different house. For me, I have Capricorn and Aquarius in my second house in my chart. So my lesson will continue, but with a different approach now, with a different archetype, with a different feeling of Aquarius as opposed to Capricorn. So what does that mean? What's the difference? Well, since 2008 until tomorrow, Pluto in Capricorn has really dealt with the structure of our life, the containers we live in, whether that's our environment or our career or the way that we think about stability. What kind of container do you put stability in? Is for you stability money or a home or a family or a certain look or having certain things or a certain organization or community. Like, what is stability for you, the container you live in? But in Capricorn, Pluto came in. Remember, Pluto's job is something has to die to be transformed. Something needs to be transmuted, right? This is for our own evolution. Pluto is the soul's desire. But you see, when we're born, we have other desires, not just from our soul, right? We're hungry, we're thirsty, we have wants, we have needs. And from the moment we're born, and that that OR nurse holds us, or our mom holds us, or our dad holds us, there's a conditioning that takes place by the way they hold us. Does that feel secure? Does it not feel secure? The softness of the blanket, are we going to grow up and want that particular type of blanket? Certain sounds, certain smells. And that conditioning continues from the moment of your first breath until your whole life. We're conditioned based on our environment, our relationships, everything we take in with our senses, everything is a conditioning. Even the type of books I like to write in, the type of paper and pens I like to use, somewhere along the line that was a condition. So I found that pen, I liked the way it looked, someone told me the writing looked nice, or maybe I just like the way it sounds on the paper. There's a conditioning that takes place. The foods we like to eat, we're conditioned to eat them based on our cultures and our family of origin and maybe the environments we live in. If you grow up next to a hot dog truck, you're going to want to eat hot dogs. So Pluto in Capricorn was all about transforming those conditions, allowing us to see in whatever way, wherever it is in your chart, allowing us to see what the conditioning did for us and where it no longer works and where that conditioning is forming limitations from our soul growth. Because we don't just have desires of the soul. We have desires of the ego, the physical body, the conditioning, right? We like certain things. We want our creature comforts. We want to smell and taste and look and be and have things, right? But then our soul has desires that sometimes don't match those. So there's a dissolving, a transformation, a transmutation, a metamorphosis that has to take place. So that's what Pluto does. It comes into our life and it strips us, it causes abandonment, it causes loss, it causes the crumbling of things so that we are in a place where we have to look at what the true desire of our soul is. It's no longer covered up by all these conditioned desires of the ego, of the mind, of the body, right? So in Capricorn, those things that crumbled were our structures, our governments, our schools, our financial systems. In 2008, when Pluto went into Capricorn, the first thing that happened was that huge financial global meltdown. So now what are the type of things that Pluto is going to transform in Aquarian energy? Well, Aquarian energy is all about the underworld. Pluto is about the underworld, and in Aquarian energy, it is about resources. Pluto represents oil and precious metals and anything that comes from deep within the earth. But in Aquarius, it represents innovation. Aquarius is an air sign, whereas Capricorn was an earth sign. Earth is dense and heavy. Air is refreshing. So when Pluto now spends 20 years in Aquarius for all of us, this is going to be transformation out of our conditioning, because we've done that work in Capricorn. But now it's about the core of each of us. What did we learn in Capricorn years about our own conditioning and our own authenticity, our true desire of the soul, that now Aquarius energy, Pluto in Aquarius, is going to bring even out more? And the word is innovation. But not innovation just to invent things, like if you look at a perfect example of Aquarian energy is Elon Musk, right? Whether you like him, hate him, Elon is an innovator. Elon knows how to do things and get things done, and he knows how to think outside the box. And the important thing about Elon is he doesn't really care if people like his ideas or not. He has faith in them because he's totally secure in his individuality. And that is Aquarian energy. It's not just innovation for the sake of creating scientific things and technology and new ways of being and approaching things in a new way. That's Aquarius, but it's not just for that. Aquarius is about innovation for individuality. So, what's the journey with that? The journey with Pluto and Aquarius is going to be finding our individuality, but it doesn't come that easy, right? When we have an idea or a belief system, because remember, Pluto and Capricorn now forced us to find our own truth, our own belief system in many ways because it stripped us of the conditioning, right? We were taken to a place where for many years, especially the COVID years, we were like, what the hell is going on? This doesn't feel like the world that we know anymore. Of course it doesn't, because all of the conditioning that we had of things that felt a certain way and should be a certain way were stripped from us, and we were kind of left with, oh, how are we going to make this work now? Things are changing rapidly. Where do I pivot? What do I do? Right? So now Aquarius is the energy that's going to hit that home and breathe air into and life into that, into those innovations, into the newer way. We've been stripped of the old way. We're kind of in this like gestation period, right? This pregnant pause until the new way is formed. And so innovation, when we take it on in a personal way, for instance, you're brought up in a culture that believes a certain way. And now the last few years, you've questioned that quite a bit. It doesn't seem like that's your vibe. It doesn't seem like that's your authenticity, your belief system. It's very difficult to speak up and say that to loved ones. It's very difficult to speak up and say those things to an organization. Look at how many people during the last and still going on, our elections in the United States switched parties or were quiet about their true feeling and didn't want to tell anyone who they were really thinking about voting for because it went against the consensus. It's not so easy to have a belief system and adopt and put faith in a belief system that you're really going against the consensus, right? That's Aquarian energy, though. So we're going to see a lot more of that. It's revolution. It's pioneering. It is people who are going to be in revolution and be different and be unique just to be unique and, kind of push back at anybody who tells them what they should do or think or feel, which is a tough energy, right? And then there's going to be those who are just innovative because they're finding their individuality and their authenticity and it's real. And it's going to be hard for them because they're going against the tide, whatever that tide is. So at the end of the day, what is the true meaning of Aquarian energy? Well, Aquarian energy is community. It's unity, but it's not so easy because some people, out of fear of going against the consensus, will form communities of all people like them. Just like those of us who maybe listen to the news channels that back up what we want to hear. We get to see panels and people that say the same thing that we say and we think and we feel. That's not the highest octave of Aquarius. That's the lower octave of community. Aquarius wants us to unify and understand that true innovation comes when we accept everybody's in and nobody's out. It's the person with the purple hair and the orange hair and the yellow hair because that's really what their soul wants to have. And we're okay with it. It's in the United States, I don't care whether you voted for this one or that one because it's done now and we all got to make this work together. And I know that just hit a nerve for a lot of people, but that's what we're going to be up against over the next long time. And it's going to start to happen very rapidly in the beginning because Aquarius is a sign that's ruled by the planet Uranus, which is sudden, shocking, surprising things. So it's going to really kind of speed up a little bit. For me, Capricorn energy felt very slow and dense and almost like the wrecking ball that keeps coming against the building. That's what Pluto and Capricorn felt to me. It was almost like, the hammer chipping away. Boom, boom, boom. Pluto in Aquarius feels to me like wind. The the winds of change blowing in. But wind can also be destructive, right? You don't want to knock everything out because it's different or we never saw it before. And there was a lot of fear in Pluto and Capricorn. Pluto brings up a lot of fear for us. Why? Because when we have conditioning and we're conditioned to think we should believe a certain thing or walk a certain way or dress a certain way or talk a certain way or that language isn't good, this language is good or whatever. When someone comes in and challenges that, like we're taught, children of the 70s and the 80s and even the 90s were taught about the space program and how, the United States led the space program and we were, very powerful in that. And now this guy with a funny name, Elon Musk, comes around and he's putting people in space and things in space better than we can, when our government can. For some people, that's frightening. It's frightening to challenge the norm. It's frightening to challenge what we've been conditioned to believe is the truth. It's frightening to find out that the things we believed in don't work anymore. They're old hat, they're stale, they're expired, they're not going to work anymore. And now we got to find some new stuff. And so people will still go into fear just because all of a sudden now Pluto's in Aquarius and Aquarius is like, ooh, everybody, unity, everybody's one, community, all good. This is a great new time. No. What that means is people are going to be scared because there's more change coming, right? We're put here to evolve. We're put here to change. So it's going to be a really interesting time. I'm going to go to comments. And I know this may be a little deep for some people, but I'm going to kind of dumb it down a little bit. Pluto is your deep buried core. It's the identity that you don't know about. We always, we grow up, we go to school, we're taught write with your left hand, write with your right hand, make your A this way. Oh, we all have to wear the same shoes or we're going to be out of the group. We're all taught these little nuances, right? But that's not really who you are. Deep down inside, in your soul, I always do that, in your soul space, there's no identity. There's an identity that is authentic. That's Pluto. Pluto's job is to bring that up. It's your soul. It's the soul energy. It's what you came in this lifetime to do and what your soul's desire is for you. Pluto reveals that and brings it up. For me, in the Capricorn years, that was what I'm doing right now in front of you with a camera in front of my face. Pluto showed me that my workaholism life that I had when the most important thing to me was making money, being successful, being competitive, being number one, being on top, in a very competitive industry that I was in, 2008 to 2024 showed me in no uncertain terms that that is not my true identity. I am really not a competitive person. I really don't care about material things to the point of, needing to kill myself for them. But that was an embedded trauma response to a childhood memory that if you don't work, you die. You have to work. You have to make money. You have to do this. You have to. That's not really who I am. It took loss and a lot of tragedy to show me that. That's Pluto's job, and I am thankful, and Pluto and I are buddies. So that's what Pluto does. In short, it reveals your authentic self by taking away the things that you really are not healthy in your life. So that's what it's about. In Aquarius, those things are anything that is not healthy for you. Aquarian things are science, technology. You're going to see a lot of controversy over AI and technology in the next 20 years. And you're going to see a lot of innovation. You're going to see innovation that scares people. But think back 150 whatever years ago, more than that, when electricity came and people were afraid to turn on a light switch and some people wouldn't put it in their house. And, so that's just the MO of humanity. We fear innovation. But I'm here to tell you, if you want to make Pluto and Aquarius work in your life, do not fear the innovation. Embrace it. Do not fear the loss of the conditioning. Embrace it. Because you got to trust the universe here. You got to trust the universe, trust Pluto, trust that whatever is taken away, whatever falls, is meant to, because we're creating space for you to go into your real, authentic soul space. Um, just looking at my notes. Right. So one of the things that will be the downside of Aquarius also, because Aquarius is about unity and groups and community. So there are people, especially people with a very heavy Aquarian chart, that will always feel unique and individual, but not in a good way. They're not embracing and accepting their individuation. They are feeling outside of things, always on the outside looking in, always feeling like they don't belong. That's a very Aquarian thing until we understand that we are all beautiful, miraculous creatures meant to embrace our unique individuality. If we were all the same, the world wouldn't really work. Our individuality is what allows us to be able to come together. As I said, I'm in an astrology group from all over the world. I talk about it a lot on the show here. And we're all like little pieces of a puzzle. And I've learned so much from everybody, just from the different cultures and the different places they live and different things and the way they approach a chart reading and all kinds of things and their personalities. And they're all such beautiful people. But if we were all the same, it wouldn't be that rewarding. I wouldn't be learning. I wouldn't be evolving. I wouldn't be revolving, right, around the world, around my life, soaking up all those beautiful experiences. So the lower octave of that is people might join a group and feel inadequate or feel like because they have uniqueness, they don't belong. And in these Aquarian years that we're approaching with Pluto there, I think that a lot of people are going to be healed from that. But how do they do that? Well, we do that by being super uncomfortable. You know, Pluto's going to make you so uncomfortable feeling like you're alone and like you are, you know, the odd man out until you are reaching that threshold of intolerance and you realize, wait a second, I don't need to suffer this way. There's nothing wrong with me. I'm a beautiful creature of God. You know, so the energy bounces back like that slingshot effect. So I'm going to go through really fast for you guys. What house, if wherever Aquarius is in your chart, this is where this is affecting you. And we'll talk about this more throughout other shows because I definitely want to go to cards, but and I want to check the comments as well. But in short, best advice is Pluto is a rebirth. It's always a rebirth whenever it hits a part of your chart. In Aquarius, it's going to be rebirth. It's going to be intense. It's going to be about relationships, all right? Because an air sign, all air signs are about some kinds of relationships. Aquarius is the water bearer. That's why it's an air sign. I know a lot of times because you see the jug of water in the Aquarian icon, you think it's a water sign. It's not. It brings the water. It carries the water from the well. All right. Aquarius is, you know, the tribe that goes to the river and gets the water and brings it back for everyone in the tribe. It's for the good of the whole. Aquarian is not just about me, but for the whole. That's why it's about unity and community. One of the things that I heard one of my teachers say about Aquarius was Aquarius is that brings the water because it's an air sign. If you think about clouds being really full of water, they're full of rain, right? Rain clouds. But usually it's air or wind or the stratosphere that brings the rain down from the cloud. That's Aquarian. It's the water bearer. So I think we'll all admit that we have a lot of clouds in our world right now. A lot of, deprivation and things that are negative and hard energy, right? We have those clouds. Well, Aquarius is going to make those clouds rain, and it's going to come down upon us, but it's also a cleansing. So think about that when you think about how you want to work with Aquarius. Aquarius is going to seek relationship, but oftentimes feels like it doesn't belong. So in these next few years, you're going to see a lot of things come out that are all about belonging and making people feel more to do with the group. You're going to see a lot more groups pop up that are embracing of each other. And that's going to be a beautiful thing. But it'll also be really interesting to see and to make sure that those groups do not become exclusive in the extreme. Like, when a lot of areas in the world were built, in the beginning of the 1900s and we had segregation, right? All across the globe. And we had communities that were very heavily segregated. That's not unity, but they're community, right? So if Aquarius falls in your first house, you are an Aquarius rising. This is going to, for the next 20 years, really create a lot of transformation, a lot of change in your view of yourself. It's all about you in the first house. This is about how you approach your sense of self, your relationship with yourself, and in turn others. But it's really going to reveal a lot of self awareness for you if you're a first house Aquarius. This is about relationships and yourself being rebirthed in order to find your a deeper self worth and accepting your own uniqueness. If you are a second house Aquarian energy, this is about your values and your self worth. How do what the things that you value mirror how you feel about yourself, especially in regards to money and your possessions? Um, this is an area where Pluto is going to challenge you to change your outlook and your perception about those values and also what you perceive stability and security to be. Um, like my experience with Pluto in Capricorn really changed the way that I look at what I value and the things that create stability for me. For you, this is going to happen in your Aquarius because Aquarius is in your second house. This is also part of what I am going to be completing work on in these years as well. Um, this is a regeneration which may be started by a breakdown or a financial loss. Now, that doesn't have to be catastrophic. It could just be something that bumps you a little bit to show you to respect certain things or to reevaluate and reconfigure your approach to how you view money and possessions and things in your life. If you're a third house Aquarius, this is all about your communication and short-term travel, short distance travel and transit. This is unusual ideas with science and technology. Perhaps you'll use that to communicate differently. But deep down, Pluto is going to challenge you to transform the way you communicate. If you have Aquarius in your third house, it could be that you communicate differently through a profession or your job or with your children or whatever. But this is going to really change your communication style and also the way your world communicates with you. So think about how you use communication. How do you communicate? Do you withhold communication? And that's your style. You know, what do you need to transform in order to be a lot more authentic about your communication and connection, the way that you communicate, interpret language, interpret words with other people, speak, interact, all of those things. Also, Pluto might help you find your voice or maybe ease your voice if you have, you're a screamer or a yeller or you're an abusive person. If you're a quiet person and authentically you want to be heard more, you feel like you've never been heard, Pluto is going to bring those triggers up and challenge you to make changes in those areas. That's how Pluto works, and Pluto will work that way throughout every area of our chart, wherever it is for you. This At the end of this Pluto cycle, next 20 years or in the next years, third house Aquarius, you are going to become much more understanding and have a deeper a level of the way that you communicate based on truly your authenticity. If you are a fourth house Aquarius, this is all about your home and your family. This is about even ancestral trauma, ancestral karma, people from past generations in your life, your roots. And it's also about real estate and the home, the physical home. This may be a time when you renovate or move your home. It may be a time when you have a loss of a home or you gain an inheritance of a home. Pluto in Capricorn here is going to challenge you the way that your home is run, the way that you deal with family, your family relationships, your relationships with ancestors and ancestral karma. It could also be very deep triggers and very deep challenges in familial relationships, family life, and making changes to that. If there's relationships or environments or styles or habits that are going on that are not healthy, Pluto's going to, come in and really shake that up and challenge those things and trigger those things so that they get removed and have to go and have to be completely rebuilt. Could be power struggles. It could be you doing shadow work from your own childhood to break patterns from ancestors and, previous karma. So, this is really deep work in the fourth house for you, Aquarians who are in the fourth house. Remember, it's all about individuating, creating a new approach, a new innovation, innovative ways to handle those family relationships and dynamics. Fifth house, Aquarius. For you, this is about creativity, self expression, being seen, being aware, taking your place in the world. And it's also about children. So if you've been trying to have children, or if you have had children, or you have problems with children, or your children are having problems, Pluto will challenge this time in your life, and also challenge the way you approach your children and the way your children approach you, or any relationships like that, and childlike or creative projects. It can also be sex or sexual things. But Pluto here is going to challenge you in your romantic relationships, in your child relationships, mom, child, mom, parent. It's going to challenge you to go much more deeply, to be able to express yourself in a more authentic way and allow others to express in a more authentic way, especially parents and children relationships. That's all going to be really challenged and worked on, fifth house, Aquarius. If you're a sixth house Aquarius, you are going to find that daily routines and work and career and also your service to the world are going to be extremely heightened in the next 20 years. This is going to be perhaps you coming in contact with a career that is completely unorthodox and completely unique to you. And you are used to doing some other type of work, and now you find something that really feeds your soul, but maybe it's totally different than anything you ever thought you would do, and you may have a hard time getting other people to accept that about you, but it's authentic. So look at your daily routines and try to watch for things that bring out your unique quality and your unique soul space of what you want to do in service to the world. This is also a lot about health. So if you have Aquarius in the sixth house, when Pluto is there, you want to really get on your health routines. You don't want to have any kind of things. If something does come up, have it checked right away. This is a time where Pluto will compel you to face the truth and transform the area of your life of what you do for a living and what you do in your daily routines. It'll also bring up very authentic soul type things and desires that you want to do in those areas. So if you are a caretaker and you don't like it, that person in you may fall out so that you're free. Aquarius energy is liberation. It liberates us from the things that take us away from what our soul really wants us to do. So just keep that in mind in all of these categories. Aquarius in the seventh house, all about relationships for you guys, romantic relationships, partnerships in business, like the tight personal relationships that we have. Pluto in Aquarius there for you is going to liberate you from codependencies. It's going to liberate you to show you balance in your relationships. It's going to liberate you to have your relationship with yourself and configure yourself much more deeply with others. Because of that, Pluto can take out relationships in the seventh house because those relationships aren't the ones that are growing your soul. And it wants to bring in things that grow your soul. Remember that. It wants to liberate you from things that are limiting you and holding you back with every house that Pluto hits. So if you are a seventh house Pluto, expect a lot of things in relationships, people coming in and out of your life, short-term relationships that have an impact. It's going to be a very up and down relationship kind of place for you. But it's all designed to bring you into a relationship with your authentic self, thereby making relationships with others better. Eighth house Aquarius. If you have Aquarius in your eighth house, this is deeply psychological for you. This is life and death situations where, like when my aunt died and it really changed the course of my life because it made me change my career because I wanted to complete something and do something that was really, a desirous thing for me. Also, my parents' passing was very cathartic in my life and changed my approach to everything. That's the kind of energy that an eighth house Pluto transit will have. With Aquarius, it's going to be things that really liberate you, and they sometimes will happen quickly. It can also be, if not a physical death around you or something like that. And don't get worried about that. Don't start thinking people are going to die. It doesn't mean that. It could even mean that you start to really see the life cycle of life and death. It could be just a rebirth, figuratively. But Pluto here will challenge you to release those fears that you have about letting go of your attachments. In the eighth house, it's all about letting go of unhealthy attachments and merging with beautiful attachments, knowing that life is impermanent and nothing is permanent. Those are going to be your challenges in the eighth. Pluto in the ninth house, your need for philosophy, belief systems, higher learning, religion, the occult, astrology, Reiki, anything that's, really deep, meaningful belief systems, religion, even structured religion. You might become Jewish or Catholic or whatever. This is going to challenge any falsity, any belief that is a falsity for you is going to just come to the surface. It can be an existential crisis with Pluto going through the ninth house here, but it's all designed to give you a unique and individual belief system that is something that creates true stability in your life. But in order to do that, it's got to knock out all the illusions. And that can be very unsettling and very unbalancing. So just remember, if things start to get a little hairy for a while, just sit in that space and create the space for something new to come in. Because, this is a course correction. With Pluto in the ninth house, you are actually having your belief system corrected. And it's not an easy place to be. But in the end, it's beautiful. That's very similar. I'm a ninth house Pluto naturally. And that's why I do what I do, because I'm always looking for deeper meaning in life. And that's what this show's all about. So Aquarius in the 10th house is all about the way the world sees you, your career in a different way than the 6th house. 6th house is work and daily. Career in the 10th house is the way the world sees you, your reputation in the world. It's your status, your prominence. And it's also all about the conditioning. It's ruled by Capricorn, the 10th house normally. But if you're in Aquarius 10th house, it's going to be that you're going to break free from your conditioning in a very unique way. You're going to have some unique belief systems, and the world's going to see you as that unique purple dinosaur. So here, Pluto is going to challenge you to have courage to stand up for your real belief systems and show the world who you really are. In the 10th house, Aquarius is somebody who's like, hey, yes, I'm a purple elephant, and that's what I want to be. And if you don't like it, that's just too bad, because I love the way I look, Like, that's that acceptance of yourself. So you may find triggers that make you feel like you're not accepted. You may have a real dark night of the soul where you feel like you don't belong anywhere, but that's okay. That's Pluto working its magic to transform you into that stability, because you are a beautiful creature of God. And Pluto in the 11th house is a lot of friendships, groups of people are really going to change, similar to Pluto in the 7th with the relationships, only this is all about not those close personal relationships, although it can be just as devastating or just as fulfilling. This is about your groups of people, your communities, the people you go to school with, the people you go to work with, the people you pal around with, you go to the club with, you play tennis with. All of that stuff is going to just completely transform to bring out the authentic places that you're really supposed to form community. You may even end up forming a community yourself that's really built on your true, authentic self. So remember here, just like in the 10th house, be true to yourself, but in the 11th house, it's about being true to yourself around your friends, right? We collect friends who are very similar to us a lot of times. Step out of that role when Pluto's going through your 11th house and try to bring in new innovation in your friend and community groups. And then finally, the 12th house. I'm sorry this took longer than I thought. The 12th house, this is the most powerful and potent place for Pluto to be transiting, because the 12th house is where you do your soul work, and Pluto is the soul. So when Pluto is transiting your 12th house as in Aquarius, it's going to be a lot of new innovation and new ideas about the way you really want to be and live your life. This is connection with source. It's connection with God, whatever you believe to be God, creator. This is a real soul journey in the 12th house. It's all about creating a place, returning to source. And it's like, floating in the ethers sometimes. It can be that psychic drift, like, where have I been taken to? I don't feel like myself. I feel like someone else. With Aquarius there, it can really also sometimes feel almost like an imprisonment, like you need to break out of that. And that's why Pluto is there, to give you that liberation. So if you've been feeling trapped, if you've been feeling very heavy, Pluto in Aquarius is going to start to liberate you. But you've got to do the work to pursue the innovation, the new ways of being, the what your soul really wants to do. So if you're going through a 12th house transit with Pluto in Aquarius, I'm going to say start to meditate if you don't do it already, because messages are going to come to you. You're going to find it very easy to connect, and that's going to be a place where you really want to make your soul come through and get in contact and in touch with your soul. So I want to just read something that I took out of one of my textbooks. Um, and this will give you guys an idea. And I didn't get to do cards tonight. I'll pick a couple before. I hope I have like maybe 2 minutes left. But I want to read this because it will really give you guys an idea, because it really did for me, an idea of what it's like when we change an age. And we can change an age and we think, oh, we're changing our chronological age, we're having a birthday, whatever. But that's not what I mean. What I'm talking about is Pluto is a slow moving planet. It stays in a sign usually 15 to 20 years. So when it changes sign, it's like a different age. You're going to feel a big shift. You're going to see things changing. It's a change of age. And this talks about that. And I quote, "Anytime an age comes to culmination, the opportunity and evolutionary intention is for the cycle of history relative to that age to stop repeating itself." So think about that and what we just talked about. Pluto's changing signs for all of us, right? Because whatever happened in Capricorn, whatever was brought to the surface, we're not supposed to repeat that stuff. It's a new age now. The new age brings a new innovation, so we don't repeat what came before. In order for this to occur, all the dynamics that are part of that age come to a head within a relatively brief time. And aren't we seeing that now? This phenomenon thus creates a period of time in which the psychological experiences of reality becomes one of the most condensed and intense individually and in the collective. So what that's saying is that when that point comes where the age changes, we're changing from the Pluto in the age of Capricorn to Pluto in the age of Aquarius, but it's not really the age of Aquarius. We're changing that, right? So this creates a period of time in which the psychological experience of reality, our reality, becomes one of the most condensed and intense times, both individually and for the collective, for the world. The psychological experience of time being condensed this way allows for the essence of all the dynamics that have defined the collective and individual reality to be expressed and understood. So everything that we went through since 2008, we're finally starting to understand now, especially with that last full moon in Taurus that we had. This understanding produces realizations that reflect the new time and the new age, symbolizing the new paradigm we must individually and collectively embrace to grow and stop repeating history. That's what it means to come of a new age. So think about that. Play that back. I'm going to just go to the comments for a really brief time. I'm going to say hello to everybody. Laureen, Anne, Linda. I've got Kathy, Aaron, Marianne, John. I've got Sarah on. I can't even read everybody. I'm sorry. My comments just went. There we go. I've got Sarah on. I'm sorry if I skipped anybody. Aaron says his chart is 6th house. Of course, you've been changing jobs for the last 15 years. Now in Aquarius, you're going to find the innovation that you've been seeking. Oh, thank you. Kathy says this is really helpful. Thank you. I'll do a couple of more videos on this, some short ones on my YouTube channel so that you don't have to, go through everything and watch. But I will tell you, this is the preliminary of what to watch out for. And if you have any questions, instant message me, message me, DM me, whatever you need. I'm here to help. I really want us to embrace this time and this new age. Pluto's going to be in Aquarius till 2024. So this stuff isn't going to happen all overnight. It's a gradual thing. Think about what Pluto and Capricorn meant for you since 2008 to now. What was the lesson? I know for me, it was a complete restructuring of my life and doing the things that I love to do. It was really something that made my work habits and my life habits become much more fulfilling for me. Not easy, but great. Cheryl's asking really quick in her eighth house, is that bad? No, it's going to be deep transformation for you, Cheryl. And you're going to find a lot of your soulfulness and your authenticity coming through. You you just have to make sure that you allow yourself to let go of things that you want to that the universe wants you to let go of, and don't hold on to those attachments, because that's when Pluto can be very difficult for us. If we allow things to flow and not hold on to things that the universe really wants us to let go of, then everything goes really well. So I'm going to say goodnight to everybody. I love you all. Thank you all for tuning in. Please share this show if you think it's helpful to anybody. And I'll be back next week at 7 o'clock on the Soul Space, but you'll probably have other videos on my YouTube channel in between. And I love you all, but I really got to go. So see you next Monday night at 7 o'clock, everybody. Good night.